The female chameleon is a behavior which most people can recognize when it is pointed out. But because it preserves a state of deniability in the player, definite identification is a challenging pursuit. This is the wearing of a point of view as a costume. Female, as well as male celebrities, often demonstrate this, as many public figures use a created persona as part of their marketing. It is widely accepted with minimal criticism. But what a Katy Perry or a Beyonce Knowles really thinks is of barely trivial concern. But what the public personas of these entertainers portray a belief in might change from one marketing move to the next. But in real women, the same chameleon behavior is common. Ideology and philosophy is adopted and discarded as a matter of personal advantage and deniability. And in the world of non-celebrity, the prevalence of this female behavior presents a real problem to anyone dealing with women. But it is a mistake to buy the idea that women are simply evil. The female chameleon could not exist without the participation of men, particularly those playing the role of white knight. Men who practice chivalry enable the chameleon. It is you fine fellows who are the problem. And fine fellows is not a slang here for dirtbags or manginas or any other male-facing insults. The men who enable women's avoidance of accountability are, in almost all cases, doing what they think is the right thing. Protect the women, attack the bad men, and hopefully gain a sliver of positive identity for being the obedient protectors of the feminine caste. Many such men buy completely into the claim of a centuries-deep conspiracy of male dominion over women. There is a powerful motivation to conform to this mythology, because men still gain their positive public identities from feminine approval. These men are the rescuers of female sociopaths, and the enforcers of female offended dignity. They are also the ones who will attack other men, removing themselves from female control, and these white knights cast themselves each as uniquely good men, the reasonable ones. And if we are not aware of the chameleon, we risk becoming just another one of those poor, dumb bastards as well. In the world of women, deniability is a traded commodity. Faked innocence and pretend ignorance of the outcomes of actions are standard practice. Most men still live without understanding of the feminine world of constructed reality and reject the concept of the chameleon. Some will pretend incomprehension. Some will denounce this thesis of plausible deniability as half-cooked conspiracy, and some will accuse those pointing it out of misogyny. All such arguments are avoidance of an uncomfortable truth, that being that for most women, plausible deniability is a tradable commodity. In fact, a major fraction of what would otherwise be baffling behavior becomes clear when we see that deniability is pursued for its own sake. Standard expectations in romantic relationships show some of the most naked examples of chameleon behavior. A casual survey of female-facing relationship advice shows an array of manipulation tactics. Don't be yourself. Put on an act. Use deception. Force him to take the initiative. This allows you to avoid any responsibility. Don't talk to a man first. Invest less than he does in all social transactions. That is, hold power over him. Rarely return his calls. Establish that he must always initiate, and that you have no responsibility to do so. This makes him subservient to you while hiding that fact. Let him maneuver for the perceived elevated status of male sexual conquest. Be the gatekeeper of communications. Keep unilateral power in all contexts, and always end phone calls first. Force him to elevate you over himself in social transactions. Don't accept social engagements from him without days of advance planning. These few items of advice are all borrowed from a book called The Rules. This is a 20-year-old dating advice book which still today informs most of modern romance advice ideology. Women's magazines continue repackaging the same tactics, and women cheerfully use these tools, confident that they are correct to do so. And The Rules, the book, is almost 20 years old, but reflects a current view that for women, non-accountability, subterfuge, coercion, and control in relationships is completely appropriate. The public view of one-sided power is widely accepted and rarely recognized or even publicly identified as dysfunctional. Men are not socialized to recognize abuse against themselves as real or even possible. But let's be clear. The advice given in almost all women's literature about how to manage relationships with men is advice on how to practice coercion and control. And what we have outlined above is psychological abuse, and women who put it to use would be called abusers by any objective standard, but like almost all currently normal feminine behavior, it is practiced from behind the curtain of plausible deniability. The story being that women are weak, women are oppressed, women are victims, even when committing violent crimes. Women are always the victims. The abuse excuse is simply another form of cultivated plausible deniability. The cult of feminism demonstrates an escalating practice of the behavior that we have here called the chameleon. Activist feminists attack due process, freedom of speech, freedom of thought, and the indefensibility of killing by women. But when challenged, feminists direct attention away from the real world and towards the dictionary. You see, it says right here in the Oxford English Dictionary that feminism is equality. Pay no attention to the campus lynch mob or the murder-advocating feminist law professor. This is the chameleon and the endless pursuit of plausible deniability. For men, awareness and a toolkit to recognize the chameleon is becoming a matter of self-protection. And that toolkit will protect you from financial fraud, incarceration, and violence. But there is no single test, nor any set of tests capable of detecting and avoiding the grift of a female chameleon. The reason being that any such published list of criteria will be adopted as part of the chameleon behavior itself. In fact, many men have published suggestions for women to make them non-toxic, to make them viable partners for relationships or long-term commitment. And as a result, a wave of women who are, quote, not like that are manifesting in the blogging spaces of the wider manosphere. Just by pure coincidence, these women self-describe with a list of qualities perfectly matching what men have said their perfect ideal of an atypical, not like that woman would be. And I don't entirely blame such men, but I do fault them for failure to grasp the shape-changing game. And how do you tell the grifters from the women who are, quote, not like that? Well, how do you tell a patch of bare ground from a buried landmine? Simple. You walk across it. And if you've still got your leg afterwards, well, it was probably safe. Or don't walk on it, because gambling with dismemberment is not a good risk management strategy. But if you've been burned or betrayed or abused by women, you should just keep trying. No matter how many malicious opportunists there are, there's also some women out there who are not like that. Does this sound familiar? Get out there and play soccer in that minefield, because some of that ground doesn't have landmines under it. Don't be a quitter. Keep trying. And gentlemen, if you fall prey to the advice that not all women are like that and you keep trying, you just might be a simp. Maybe the purpose of your life is to be a warning to others. Men are opting out, and women are beginning to notice. The male-facing element of our culture is now one of abuse. Rape culture, all men are rapists, patriarchy, oppression of women, evil men, teach boys not to be rapist monsters, despite that they are in fact not rapists or monsters. And we wrap that abuse in a phony veneer of protect the delicate and helpless ladies, fragile females victimized by everything from friendly greetings to how a guy sits down on public transit. The result is a rapid decline in dating, in talking to women, a decline in marriage, a decline in the pursuit of wealth necessary to interest women who still control social narrative, women who still not only define what a good man is, but use the definition wants to pay for all her shiny bullshit. It is not a coincidence that the terms starter husband and man desert rose into popular use one after the other. Contrary to popular messaging, men are not completely stupid, just mostly stupid. But in response to the growing howls of frustration and outrage from women and their enablers, some men propose modes of behavior which will render women non-toxic and attractive to men. One error behind such suggestions is that what is sometimes called men on strike is actually a strike. The idea that men opting out is some part of a negotiation. Now, there might be some stupid few who might be belligerently holding out for better terms of servitude, but for most, the man strike is no strike at all. It is a diaspora. MGTOW is not a movement of reformers. It is men's unapologetic abandonment of male destructive norms. But the advice offered by some men to women plays directly to the female behavior which we term the chameleon. Women will present as whatever provides them social advantage. And many women have no ideology, nor compass, nor any firm beliefs except for whatever gives them advantage in the moment. And few can tell if this is most women, or some small few women, or if it is all women. The chameleon is so effective, nobody can tell adaptive camouflage from what it imitates. And those guys posting public advice to women that what men could really stop avoiding and shunning would be women with the following X, Y, and Z behaviors might as well just announce, hey, professional grifters, here's how to scam us back into being your marks again. Here's a new mask for the predators to wear.